It's the run to the line. Workman's off the track. He's got all 4 Michelins over the white line. He's defending.
Everything interesting happens off the racing line.
This is Off the Racing Line. I am your host, Carlos Espitia, and back in the studio with me is Mike Moore. Mike, welcome back, buddy.
I'm happy to be back. I watched episode 10, was it, on my way up to the studio this morning, and there was like some 12-year-old kid in my seat. What happened?
It was fantastic. You know what we did last time here? We started the episode with announcements, and I kind of like that format.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to start doing that more and more. And I have a ton of announcements, not just for the sake of doing them, but because I think it's cool to share with our audience and with people kind of like what's coming down the pipe, a little bit of like behind the scenes, you know? So you mentioned, trackside episodes. We recorded last Friday at Homestead Miami Speedway, 6 30-minute episodes. It was exhausting.
Sounds like quite the marathon you had there.
Yeah. But it gave us an opportunity to talk to people that we normally wouldn't have because they're coming from out of town, from different states. So they're not going to fly in just to come to the studio and record a 1-hour podcast. But if they're going to go racing, then why not meet them there, right? So it was quite different than doing it here in the studio. I was kind of a little bit overwhelmed. Rain was in the forecast. It was raining heavy right before. It started raining during one of the episodes, and it was so distracting because all my notes, everything's getting wet. That's not a big deal, but I'm looking at the crew, and they're all scrambling. They're putting tents up over all the equipment. I'm like, are we still good? And they're like, yeah, keep going. You know?
I wouldn't imagine that electricity and a rainstorm goes well together. So that makes perfectly good sense why that would be distracting.
No, man. And I'll say this for the record. I've mentioned this to a few people. I'm probably the last person that should be hosting a podcast.
I will second that motion.
I would feel like, you should like back me up on other things.
Why would I do that?
I don't like speak very well. Like I don't shoot off the cuff, like thinking and speaking off the cuff, not very well. So I make up for it by writing stuff down, by being prepared, right? That's my go-to. So usually it takes me several hours, to prepare for one podcast for one guest. I had a few hours to prepare for 6 guests in a 3-hour marathon. It was grueling. Oh, and we had to run an event right after for Saturday and Sunday. So,
well, based on the first episode that I saw, a job well done. I look forward to seeing the other 5, and I'm sorry that I couldn't be there.
Yeah, man, we definitely missed you. Mike, I think we might be onto something here with this podcast. Let me read some statistics to you. 90% of new podcasts never make it past episode 4. Actually, they don't make it past episode 3. This is episode 11.
Yeah, for sure.
That's fantastic. Of those that do make it past episode 4, 90% of those will not make it past episode 20. So
we have a barometer to judge. We only need to make 9 more.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. And we already filmed 6, at Homestead. So we're nearly there. So I'm planning on, maybe doing a big party for episode 21. Maybe you rent the studio, bring all the previous guests in, and we'll just do sort of a round robin type of thing. I don't know. I think that would be kind of a cool idea. It could be extremely distracting for somebody like me that needs to be focused, and having 30 people sort of, being loud. I don't know. We'll see. But I think I want to celebrate it somehow.
Yeah, of course, sort of like best of the best. Bring everybody back for a couple minutes of chatting. Yeah, no, little refresher for everybody. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I like it. We are looking for sponsors. So if you like what we're doing and you want to support the podcast, you want to see us and help us grow, you reach out to us, go to offtheracinglineline.com and let us know how you would like to contribute. If you are a street racer and you think you're fast, I have a challenge for you. Stick around and you're going to want to see and hear what I have in store. This episode is brought to you by Velocity Track Experience.
Want to drive on a real racetrack but don't have a car? Velocity Track Experience offers track-ready car rentals for HPDE and racing. Whether you're flying in from out of state, out of the country, or you want full track support without worrying about prep, maintenance, or transport, this is your arrive and drive solution. From an agile Mazda MX-5 to a fully prepped BMW race car, Velocity provides everything you need to hit the track with confidence, including expert support and optional coaching. Just book your favorite track car, show up, and drive. Go to velocitytrackexperience.com and start your track adventure today.
Let's get into it. Is today's BMW culture more about the cars or just a bro hangout? Our guest has seen it all, from the show and shine car meets to the flat-out, no-nonsense world of track days, both in a car and a motorcycle. He's a driver, a rider, and a bridge between two very different automotive worlds. From carving up the tail of the dragon to pushing the limits at Homestead Speedway, please welcome Brian Blash. Welcome, man.
Thank you very much, guys.
Good to have you, Brian.
Good to have you, man. All right, listen, let's jump into it. We're going to talk about two worlds colliding, okay? The meet culture, the car meet culture is very different than the track life culture.
Agreed.
I would say one says, look what I got, and the other says, look what I can do, right? Talk to me about how you got involved into really both worlds.
Well, the racing thing came very naturally. It was almost hereditary, if you will.
Your father?
Yeah, my father was into racing, and I call him my Uncle Phil, but, he owned a race team, and growing up, I spent almost every weeknight at the race team and working on cars and going to every racetrack on the East Coast, and that was pretty much that. It was just natural. I fell into it at 20 years old. My dad put me in a car, and that was that. The
car meetup culture. How'd you get involved with that? Because you're big into that.
I think that also kind of came from my father. My father always did the concourse shows and really fancy car shows, and I decided that wasn't really for me. It's not that I don't like going to those. It's just it's not my scene. It's a lot of older people. Even though at this point I'm 45, and I guess I kind of classify as the older people now, but when I was younger, I wanted to go to the shows where people were building cars that I was interested in.
Right.
At the time, admittedly, it had a lot to do with stereos and stuff like that. But, I also liked performance stuff. And I wanted to see the supercharged cars, the turbocharged cars, the cars built with nitrous, all that stuff. You don't see that at, HPD track days or, any wheel-to-wheel racing.
Sure, because weight is the enemy.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I saw
reliability becomes a problem when you start doing all those bolt-ons that don't belong there.
Yeah,
exactly.
I remember at a track day, I saw a guy had opened his trunk, and there was a huge subwoofer. I'm that's probably not ideal for out there.
As long as it's strapped in, it's helping his weight balance from front to rear. So maybe
He couldn't have taken that out before the track day, really?
I don't know if it passed tech, but anyway, that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come in and talk about it, because the two worlds are so different, and it's a rare thing that one person really is so heavily involved in the two different worlds. You go to a lot of car meets, and you also do a lot of track days as well. So I think you're the perfect guest to talk about really the difference between those two worlds.
That's great. I mean, yeah, it's definitely two different worlds. I mean, you've got...
What's the culture like? The difference between the two?
Oh my gosh, man. You know what? I actually like the track days for the kind of the community better. And I got to tell you, actually, I'm not really fond of the direction that some of these car meets and shows have been going. I mean, it's just so weird these days. I think they've gone a little too far to, hoodlum stuff. And
I was going to ask you about that. Because you've been in that scene for years.
Maybe I'm just old. I don't know. But it seems like it's just gotten a little out of hand.
In what regard?
I mean, you go to some of these car meets or shows, and people are doing burnouts and, drifting their cars. And, I'm not into that. I'm not into it at all.
Right.
You know?
It's a different vibe.
Yeah, I want to go and see cool builds. You know, I really don't even like these big wings and all that stuff these days. I mean, you know.
So all the people leaving those events that you see on YouTube and they're crashing into pedestrians and curbs and trees, that's not really like an exception that actually goes on at most events?
No.
Okay, well that's
No.
good. Just your regular stuff of like bouncing off the rev limiter and those sorts of things.
Yeah, that is pretty common, unfortunately.
All right. So pedestrians being taken out by a Mustang, that's not a usual thing.
I mean, I've seen it happen. I won't mention any events, but I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I've even wrecked my motorcycle once leaving an event because some people asked me to do a wheelie, and for some
Peer pressure.
dumb reason, I did it, you know?
I hope we have a clip of that. That'll be fantastic.
I wish-
Does that live
I
on the
honestly-
internet somewhere or no?
Thankfully, no.
Okay, you're spared. Then.
My friends would never let me down. You know, they would never let that one down. So,
Let's talk about the risk differences between a car meet, which I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's mostly involving people leaving a car meet, right? Like you said, being, asked to do those burnouts or just take off and do a little bit of show for everybody recording versus, the risk involved in a controlled environment like a track day.
well, leaving a car meet, if you're susceptible to peer pressure, it's a bad scene.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe you shouldn't go to
Yeah.
those.
That's actually an interesting question. I wonder if there's some way, like we need a researcher on this show to look into the fact that what has happened more often, a crash at an HPDE event or somebody running into a tree or something leaving a car show.
You know what? I'm gonna put our new. We have somebody that's helping us.
Oh, perfect.
So I'm gonna have her. I just forgot the title that we gave her.
Okay.
Production manager, I believe it is.
Perfect. That sounds like a perfect job for a
All right.
production manager.
Production manager, if you're listening, we need some stats on that. Whether HPDE events cause more wrecks than car meets.
More insurance claims through track insurance companies or through regular car insurance companies with people beaching their lowered car on the median leaving a car show.
Seen that happen a lot. Oof. At least at tracks, you've got runoff areas and, stuff like that. Some grass to run off into in most cases. Hopefully you don't hit a tire wall.
And I would also like to believe that the people driving at a track event are probably more experienced at keeping a car under control, and they're used to that, right?
Yeah.
Because they've been doing it for a long time versus people that just got a insert high horsepower rear wheel drive car here last weekend and thought, oh, this is cool. I wonder what happens if you jam on the accelerator as you're pulling out of a parking lot.
There are a lot of things to dive into, but I think you nailed one, pretty well. Think about the difference, right? You go to a car meet and you feel that peer pressure to peel out, to burn out as you're leaving the track meet, or sorry, the car meet, versus when you go to a track. Like, the last thing you want to do is try to show off in front of the people that really do know how to drive there. You don't want to be the jackass that wrecks their car.
And I think another thing may be that, when you're leaving a car meet, you're going 10 or 15 miles an hour. So you probably think, oh, what could possibly go wrong? When we're out there on the track, you're doing 85, 90, 120. So you're much more cognizant of the fact that something could go wrong. Where at 15 miles an hour, pulling out of a parking lot, you're probably like, oh, what could possibly go wrong here?
Sure.
For sure.
You mentioned the community, and let's talk a little bit about that, because we have discussed this in the past, where the track community, they're friends. You feel like they're friends. You can show up with no tools, and just about anybody near you is gonna just let you use their tools. I don't feel like that is the case with a car meet. Not that you would need tools at a car meet, but it's more of a every man for himself.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. There isn't a person that I've ever shared a garage with at a track day that didn't become an instant friend.
Right.
I think you actually had one of the guys on here. What was his name? Dave
Schnorr?
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay. Shared a garage with him at, I think, the first event I went to with Farah, and spoke with him within the first 5 minutes. Guy was amazing. think he had like a Porsche Cayman that day or something like that.
The other one.
Him and I were running almost identical lap times. So it was like instant best friends, you know? You don't get that at car shows or meets, you know? A lot of these guys, you're in competition with them almost. Even if you're not in competition with them, they're in competition with you.
As far as the build, right?
As far as the build, as far as what you have, how nice your car is, how much money you've spent on it, all that. I just feel like it's just very competitive.
Really?
Yeah.
That's such an odd thing to hear, right? Because when you think about the track, you think that's where the competition would be, but it's really in the other scene.
Yeah, you would think that it would be the opposite. Like we're out there and most people are, timing their laps. Obviously, we're competing, so we're definitely timing our laps. But even people that are just out there casually, the majority of them are doing some sort of timing. That's the way they're measuring of they're getting better against the competition. Yet they're friendlier and they're willing to help. Whereas people in a car show that there's really nothing to be had there are the more peacock, look at me versus let me help you.
Yeah,
so it's fascinating because you would think it'd be the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's two different types of competition for sure, but one involves camaraderie, the other doesn't. There's, I'd say 1 out of every 10 people you meet at a car meet is going to have the type of personality that they don't care about that stuff. Most of them, they're going to look at your car, look at you, kind of make a judgment at that point in time
On how much you spent on your car.
and it's just a weird feeling. It's a really weird feeling because I worked really hard to get to this point in life, and to build my car the way that I want to.
Sure.
I didn't do it to
please somebody else.
Yeah, I'm not trying to beat anybody. I'm not trying to whatever. I'm just trying to have a cool car for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody, they see it and then they're like, got to be faster than him. Got to be nicer than that. Got to have better wheels than that. And I don't know. I think it's kind of like a compliment in a sense, but it gets tiring.
Yeah. I took over Florida Bimmers. We actually started like the Boca Club or something, like Boca BMW Club. And then we took over Florida Bimmers and we incorporated the two groups. And my purpose for that group was always to make it a track-oriented group for BMWs. And I didn't want to do any car meets, but, what do you do in between track days, right? And we had never hosted a track day, up until then. So I kind of caved in. I was like, all right, we'll do one. We'll do one car meet. And then, people showed up and it's the way that we labeled it was Florida Bimmers Driving Group, right? We're going to drive. So because of my disdain for car meets, I said, you know what? We're going to do rallies, So our first rally, we went to Lake Okeechobee, and we took back roads, which was fantastic. I already told you guys I'm a planner. I like to plan, so we did sort of a recon, route excursion, and it was just like roads that people usually will never drive. They were all back roads. They were actually kind of fun in Florida, which is an odd thing, to say. I kid you not. After our first sort of pit stop, in one of the back roads. A young kid in an M2 guns it as we're pulling out, and he ends up in the ditch. And I'm thinking, well, it was nice having a club. That's the end of that.
Had to be somebody, It was going to be somebody.
Yeah. So just, I think the liability and the pressure of hoping that doesn't happen again, it was too much. I started growing more and more disdain towards, car meets. And I was having this conversation not long ago with some friends. And it dawned on me why they're so different. And I think this, for me, this is why. In the car meet, everybody's, like you said, either competing or they're trying to more or less say, hey, you know what, we're alike because we drive the same car. Well, just because we drive the same brand doesn't mean like you don't know anything about me, right? As opposed to when you go to do a track day, it's not what we drive. We're doing something together, right? Something that's dangerous. So I think for us men, that inherently becomes a bond, right? Like we're doing something that could kill us, right? And we're not trying to outdo each other. We're, if nothing else, like we're actually learning from each other. So it's the doing part that's really, it's the connecting factor, not the, I have this emblem in the front of my car, so that means that we're friends. It just, it's too loose.
Yeah, I think that, you know, a lot of the car meet people that are there are probably look at me, right? Whereas when we're on the track together, it's like, oh shit, look at you.
Yeah.
Like, how do I get better? Like, you can help me, whether it's changing brake pads or help me with my line or something. So, yeah.
And especially the guys that show up with 20-year-old BMWs and they're outperforming other cars. Like, go ahead and laugh at that guy. He's going to lap you, you know?
That's happened to me a lot of times. You know, especially with my last car, with the G80 M3, taking that out to the track days. That is a humbling experience to take that heavy of a car out to the track. Yes. It does not matter how fast you are in a straight line. That thing was a pig around turns, you know? Yeah. And you get passed by a couple Miatas and a Honda Civic hatchback, and next thing you know, you were like, this was a bad decision.
Those Miatas, man. When you're driving, and I know you had a very high horsepower M3, when you're driving a high horsepower BMW and you look in your rearview mirror and there's a Miata right on your bumper, man, that is humbling.
Yeah, I think I was running 650 all-wheel horsepower at the time on 93 octane, you know, and this guy, I mean, of course, he was nowhere near me down the straightaway, but 3 turns later, he was coming around me, you know, so... Yeah. That's just the way that goes, you know?
Yeah. All right, let's transition over to street racing versus tracking. We talked a little bit about it, but we were talking more about, you know, the car meetups. Mm-hmm. Let's talk specifically, you know, street racing. There's an adrenaline factor there. How do you see it, the difference between, in terms of adrenaline, between the two, right? The street racing and then track driving.
Well, you know, you're only getting, you know, everybody's doing like a 40, 50, 60 mile per hour roll race to 130-ish, you know, we'll say. When it comes to the street racing, very few of them are what we call dig races from, you know, complete stop. Most of them are rolls. You know, it's a very short burst of either... You've got that feeling of yeah, or that feeling of oh, you know. Right. But it's very short lived.
And there's also the component of I hope I don't get busted by the cops, right?
Yeah,
so I can see
you get busted for street racing these days. That's a pretty serious thing. Yeah, so
right. We're gonna talk a little bit about the new Florida law in a second. Oof. But yeah, I could see the allure of I hope I don't get caught. But there's a little excitement to it.
Yeah, you know. Personally, I don't think there's enough excitement to it to not take it to the track.
Well, I agree.
Do I get caught up in it every now and then? You know, if a car that I think is faster than me or equally as fast is next to me, it can happen. But at the same time, I try to keep that to a minimum because I am in my mid-40s at this point. And
you got a family.
Yeah, I don't want anything stupid on my record or anything like that.
You're running a business. Like, yeah, exactly. Responsibilities, you know, sort of trump the desire to race on the street.
Yeah, I just felt really old saying all of that.
Welcome to our world. We feel very old. You know, how do you think I felt when I was, you know, I was interviewing a 12-year-old just finished completing competition school. He was racing his first race. I was like, man,
it's amazing.
Isn't it?
That is so amazing.
That's such a crazy story. And I
saw a little bit of that interview. I was amazed.
He started karting at 6.
And what a well-spoken young man.
Yes.
Like, he was up there answering questions and, like, a maturity that you probably need to be piloting a car surrounded by, you know, other cars at that level of competition. So, yeah, good for him.
Absolutely. So, speaking of, you know, feeling old, I'm going to throw this out there. I think street racing, I think those guys are complete idiots. And I'm saying that from a former street racer because I was a complete idiot. So it takes one to know one, right? And the thing is, once I found, you know, track life and that you could just kind of get it out of your system going to the track, now it's sort of our job, I feel, like trying to promote that as much as possible and letting people know, hey, if you like that rush, that adrenaline rush, if you feel like you got a fast car, you want to race it, just bring it to the track. We'll make you a better driver, you know?
Definitely. That's why I always advocate for track days. I mean, as I've brought a group of people out to one of your events before, trying to get, I think 2 or 3 people have actually done track days now because of that. And, you know, it's all good and fun to drive your car fast on the street and everything like that, but it is pretty reckless. And it's not just you, it's other people around you. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Stuff can happen.
Especially nowadays, you know, so many people are so distracted on the street, you know. You got some mom in a minivan, you know, kid screaming. She's probably checking messages. Like, and you're out there racing, and she's oblivious to, like, the tornado that's coming up behind her, you know?
That's exactly why I don't ride the motorcycle on the street anymore.
Yes.
At least not
here.
down here. Tennessee, North Carolina, different story.
So we talked a little bit about Florida's new, I mentioned Florida's new super speeder law. I think for anybody that's not aware of this, especially you street racers out there, let's find out what it is. Florida has implemented a new super speeder law as of July 1st, 2025, which categorizes driving 50 miles an hour or more over the speed limit or recklessly driving at 100 miles an hour or more as dangerous, excessive speeding. This offense is now a criminal misdemeanor, potentially leading to jail time and fines. I spoke to, I think it was David Maher, and he told me that one of his friends, they actually took him straight to jail, like shortly after this law was implemented. So it's like they're not fooling around, you know? Like if you want to go race, if you want to see how fast your car is, the street is no longer the place. Well, it was never the place to do it in, but now like you can actually face jail time.
Am I the only one that thinks that there's just going to be like an excess of Nissan Altimas that are going to get
impounded
because of this?
Insert a picture of Altima.
Right. Will a Nissan Altima do 100 miles an hour? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, I have seen way too many of them.
It won't
go.
stop.
Right. Well, that is true. Yes.
For some reason, when I'm in my M3 going down I-95, every Nissan Altima that comes up on me, for some reason, thinks that that's a viable race, you know?
Why is that? Why the Nissan Altima? Because you see it everywhere. It's like a meme. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, but they drive crazy. They cut in and out of traffic like absolute animals.
Whenever I pick up my car from Corsa, you know, whenever they work on it, I don't have time to go and trailer it. So it's only a few miles, so I go pick it up. And I kid you not, I'm like one of the slowest ones in a race car, practically, on 95, and I have an Altima pull up next to me, and it's like doing the jumping, like let's go. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
yeah, people do that to me all the time. You know, Porsche, you know, an M3. I can't imagine how many you must
that
get it
livery,
every single like 3 or 4 times every drive. Even
big
though it's
ass
only
wing,
10 miles from
Yeah, I have people
shop.
just. They either speed up or they slow down, and I see a phone just hanging out the window, and they're recording, and I'm like, you know, I have people, because I have my my Instagram on my quarter panel window. I had people send me the video that they took of me while they were driving. They'll send it to me to my Instagram.
Oh, that's kind of cool, actually.
Kind of creepy.
A little creepy, a little cool, though, you know.
It's made me consider taking that up, my handle off more than once.
Yeah, sure.
Anyways, so listen, I'm gonna lay down I'm going to call Carlos' challenge to all the street racers out there. If you think you're fast, bring it to the track. Here's the challenge. You can bring any car that you have. If you've never done a track day before, if you have a 800 horsepower BMW, Altima, whatever it is, bring it to the track. If you turn a faster lap than me or Mike by the end of the day, hell, by the end of the weekend, I'll give you the entire weekend to catch up to us. In my 17-year-old 350 wheel horsepower old lady car. If you can turn a faster lap than us, I will give you free track days for the rest of the year. Okay?
That is an exceptional challenge and hard to pass up, right?
Yes.
I mean, somebody's going to come out there with a GT3 RS or something like that, and
the only caveat is if they've never done any track days before. You know, my whole purpose for this is not to make fun of them or, you know, anything like that. It's just to get them off the street. I want them to get off the street and come to the track and realize, they're going to realize, you guys know this, they're going to realize, I don't know how to drive this thing. I don't know how to drive this beast. So my purpose for that is just let's make them actual good drivers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they've got the car, right? They if they're street racing, they're doing something that they really shouldn't be, and now it's clearly punishable by jail time. But yeah, there's a significant difference between, being on the Palmetto at 2:00 in the morning and jamming it in a straight line from 50 miles an hour to get up to 130 and trying to go into turn 17 at Sebring.
And they already like racing. I mean, you already know that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just try to kind of curb it into the right direction.
Well, there's clearly a time and a place for everything.
Agreed.
And the racetrack is the time and the place for that, not the turnpike.
Let me ask you guys this. Why do you think these guys, and I'm thinking of the ones that put so much money into their cars. You talked about just they're always trying to one-up you.
Mm-hmm.
So they clearly have money. So what keeps them from going and doing a track day? Do you think they're afraid that they're going to realize and everybody else is going to realize that they don't know how to drive it? Or something else?
You know what I think it is? I think it comes down to nobody wants to do a track day until they can go out there in some type of car that everybody's going to be oohing and awing at, like a GT3 RS or something like that. That's what they have in their head.
Right.
Nobody wants to go out there in a Miata, to guys in the car meet, car show world, that's not cool, but, you go out to a track day and you start realizing what's actually cool for track days, things change. Your whole viewpoint on things change, So,
Okay, so that's interesting. So you're saying that maybe a lot of these guys, they put so much money into their cars because they're essentially look at me type of personalities, right? They want the attention. And then when you go to the racetrack, they realize that they no longer have the big dog, M3 or M4, whatever it is. There's much, much cooler cars out there, and there's always going to be somebody that has a cooler car than you. It doesn't matter what you have. Like, we've seen some crazy cars at the racetrack. So you think some of that it has to do with that? Like, they're no longer, like, people don't have their eyes on their car?
Well, for sure. When you go out to the racetrack in some of these big M8s or, M5s or whatever the heck they are, you're in this big, heavy beast of a car. All of a sudden, you went from having, like, the cool car at the car shows, car meets.
Having the refrigerator.
Yeah, you're kind of, everybody's kind of laughing at you a little bit, and it doesn't matter how fast it is in the straightaway or how cool it looks or any of that stuff, how clean it is, because your lap times are all that matters out there, I mean, and honestly, some of those guys that know how to drive at the track, if you're on the track at the same time as them and you're doing stupid stuff around turns, they're going to let you know it, And it's more of a safety thing than anything. They're not mean about it, but they're going to let you know it.
Absolutely, Mike. Let me get your take on that one question I posed.
Maybe it's. I mean, I assume it's just sort of a mindset thing, right? They are passionate about washing and waxing their cars. They're passionate about Stance Bro and stereos and all that other stuff. I think it's just a completely different target audience, right? There's certainly an overlap there, right? I go to Cars and Coffee every once in a while and that sort of thing, but I'm at the track exponentially more frequently than I'm at Cars and Coffee. But when something good, especially if when a Porsche thing comes around, DRT or something, I definitely go down there and check out all the, insane builds and stuff. But I think it's mostly just there's a very small overlap there of people that are passionate about making their car look good and people that are passionate about getting around a track as fast as possible.
That's true. I mean, I don't know. To me, it kind of blows my mind. I want to be good at something, right? It's like you're learning a new craft and then you're perfecting it, versus just throwing money at something that looks pretty and it's depreciating in value. And I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I like both.
That's why we have you.
Yeah, I mean,
you like both.
I like both. I love nice things. I like to build nice cars. I think this is my fourth M3.
What happened to the second one? Can we talk about
the
that?
third one? Well,
you went racing.
I'm not a drag racer. Let's put it that way. That was my first and last attempt at drag racing.
And were you actually at the track?
I
when you
was
were
at the
doing
track.
that? Oh,
I
kudos.
was smart enough
Okay, well,
to
that was
be
good,
at a
least.
private track day to learn how to drag race. There were only about 5 cars there. We rented out the track, just the group of us by ourselves.
Now, your M3, it was an M3 or an M4?
It was an M3.
You were pushing close to 1,000 horsepower, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. That particular car was making just under 900 horsepower to all wheels.
Goodness.
The current one is just over 900 to all wheels.
All right. Which is almost undrivable on the track.
It really is. I mean, even at low boost, even if I were on 93 octane, low boost,
Yeah.
number one, because of the big single turbo, the IATs would get so crazy that it would probably go into limp mode after 2 laps, and that would be that. But yeah, power wise, you couldn't lay into that. You'd really have to watch your throttle and throttle response, because that could get nasty quick.
Yeah.
I assume that's what happened at the drag strip. It got nasty quick.
No, I had a rear passenger side tire blowout at 130 plus miles per hour right at the end of the quarter mile. And the whole car just, I mean, when I say it twitched sideways, before I could even blink, the car was completely sideways. I'm looking at the end of the quarter mile through my passenger side window and look ahead of me, and it's a cement wall.
Right.
And so I just turned the wheel and hit the brakes and smacked it with the passenger side, and that was that on that car. I think I bent the frame in 4 places, and
That was the end of that night.
I was lucky to walk away from that one, because the entire time at that speed, cement wall in front of me,
Yeah.
man, I was just praying to go home to my kid.
I remember you posted that picture, and I was like, man, I hope he's all right.
It was rough. I was a little banged up. You know, I had some bruises and stuff like that just from the seatbelt and the bolsters of the carbon bucket seats of the car. But man, that car did its job. I mean,
All the safety equipment.
I walked away from that, you know, with more of a bruised ego than anything.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and when you can walk away from something like that, you know, you just got to, you know, thank God.
But you know what? Case in point, you did the right thing. You took it to the racetrack. Even if it's a
Correct.
drag strip, you know, he was in a closed, you know, course.
Yeah.
Right. Well, think about it. If you were doing that on the street, right? If you're doing 130 miles an hour down the turnpike, even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning on the street, and you know something goes bad there, you know you're going to take out other people that are driving with you. You may cross the median, kill somebody in a head-on collision. So yeah.
Also at the track, you know, there's EMTs, there's workers ready to help in case something like that happens. 2 in the morning, like you're gonna have to wait till somebody finally comes around and realizes what a jackass you are.
For sure.
Yeah. And those guys were down there quick when that happened.
Sure.
I mean, you know, it probably wasn't 20 seconds, 25 seconds before somebody was, hey, are you all right? You know, type of thing.
Yeah.
And the whole reason I did it was because the following week, I believe it was a huge drag race here in Florida called FL2K. And I had signed up for it to do the BMW versus Toyota type thing. And I had never drag raced before, though. So I was like, all right, let's go practice. Everybody was like, yeah, we need to practice too. That was a great day turned into a bad one, really.
I'm sure. You know, I had a day like that about 15 years ago. I went drag racing. Same situation. This is in the E46 M3, and I ended up shattering my rear axle shaft. And then I made a video about it, and I was like, just pretentious snob drive, you know, with a BMW, and I put it on YouTube anyway. It got like 350,000 views. Again, this is 15 years ago. That was like big time. I would have people come up to me like at the track. I'm talking to them, and they're like looking at me, and like they recognize me, and they're like, "Ha! I know where I know you from. You did a video. Yeah, you're that jackass that broke his car." I'm like, "Yeah, that was me."
Great to be known for terrible things.
Yeah.
One thing I will add to that is one bad thing about being at the track was I had no track day insurance. And so I had to eat that one financially.
Really?
Yeah, that was a pretty big hit. But,
An expensive lesson to learn about getting track insurance if you can't afford to write that check.
Correct. Well, you know what? I've never had track insurance for any HPD day, anything. I've never had a problem. You know, like I said before, you know, even at the times that I have messed up on the track, it's been a runoff or a grass field or something like that I've went through. It wasn't a cement wall, and
Yeah, there's not a lot of room for error on a quarter-mile drag strip that's got cement walls on either side of it when something goes wrong at 130.
Yeah, I did a lot of track days without track insurance. And something we always talk about is not if, but when, right? When the moment is going to come that you're going to smack something. And I figured, you know what? Let me start buying that track insurance so at least I'm ready. you know?
Do you buy it by the annually or
No, by
the event?
By the event, yeah. By the event. There's a great video of you going through turn 10 at Homestead Speedway, and somebody passed you on the grass on the left. Like, that could have been really bad, but to Mike's point, something you always talk about is situation awareness. You had great situation awareness. I mean, you're not expecting a car to be passing you on the grass, but yeah, in the video, you could see you turn your head and here comes Trevor just flying on the grass. I think he was trying to save it and not hit the wall.
He definitely was trying to save it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just had a mess up behind me. I don't know exactly what happened, but, I saw it happen. I, kind of just sat back and watched it and let him go by,
He looked like a scene from the Dukes of Hazzard. The thing was just jumping, like
all of a sudden he was like bawing or something, man. It was like the Dakar rally next to me all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Now, we've had Trevor as a guest on the show before, and I'm curious now why he didn't bring that story up.
Would you? Like, hey, by the way, I almost took out a brand new M3.
When we get to episode 21 and we have all of our former guests back on, we'll have to ask him about that.
Yeah.
I think he was just chasing fast lap time in that what's that series that you have going?
Super Lap series.
Super Lap series. Yeah, I think he was just chasing a fast lap time in that, and maybe came off that transition from banked wall down to the flat surface a little wrong or something, but no harm, no foul. I was actually more worried about him and the underside, the undercarriage of his car. I asked him in the garage after that. I was like, everything good? Is the car all right? All that. He was like, yeah, everything looks all right.
Yeah, Trevor is really, he's really like cool and collected. I do want to mention, since we're talking about Trevor pulled off, I think, the most gangster move this past weekend. Okay, he was the 2024 Super Lap Series champion in the SL3 class. So that was last year.
Oh, that's great.
He was the champion. Okay, and then he was building his car to go racing. So I don't think he has run the Super Lap Series with us this year. But he's still in the chat for the Super Lab, and then we have a guy, Corey, that he's right now he's the contender for championship.
Very good driver in his own.
Very, very good driver, but Corey likes to talk a lot of trash. So I remember, I think Trevor posted something like Trevor holding the championship belt, this one right here. Mm-hmm. And Corey said something like, "Oh, it's cute you're living in the past," or something, like. I'm the now, you are the former, So Trevor shows up this past weekend at Homestead to compete in his, not the race car, but the M3, the red one, and he beats Corey both days. The first day in the rain, and then the next day in the dry. Now he didn't like blow him away. This
0.2 of a second.
0.2 of a second. Yeah. But the gangster move was when we're doing the trophy presentation. Here comes Trevor with his 2024 FARA champion, he didn't say anything, but it was so cold, right? Like I sensed it. I was like, dude, that's a gangster move, right?
Corey standing right there on the second step of the podium.
That's like that Conor McGregor type energy, man.
Yeah, it was just like, and it's so weird because Trevor is so, like to himself, like he's not very boisterous.
Pretty quiet guy, yeah.
Yeah, so to see him just wearing that hat, like, fuck you,
That's fantastic.
It was.
That is great.
It was amazing. All right. We're going to have to skip a few questions here because we are under 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is we're going to jump into my favorite segment, which is the rapid fire questions. All right. Hopefully we can go through these in under 10 minutes because we have a few other things that we need to get to. All right. You're familiar with the format?
Yep.
Try to just, fire off answers as quickly as possible. Mike, if some of these don't fit you, not a big deal. All right, here we go. Car meets or track days? Which crowd is more likely to talk a big game they can't back up?
Car meets.
Yeah, I think that's probably fairly self-explanatory. A lot of people don't talk much smack at the track, surprisingly.
No, unless it's like your best friend
Or Corey.
saying-
Well, yeah. Right.
unless it's like one of your best buddies, like, "Hey, I did
Yes.
this to my
Right.
car. I'm gonna
Yes.
crush everybody," and then you get to the track that weekend,
Yeah.
and he's like quiet.
That was a warm-up question
Yeah.
to get you guys warmed up.
Well, and I think not to completely ruin rapid fire like I normally do, but I think the other thing there is like you can talk all the crap you want to at a car meet because you're not there's not going to be any evidence to
Right.
put you to you can't disprove yourself. You can talk a bunch of crap
And you can sneak out when
right
nobody's
exactly.
looking.
Whereas if you come to the track and you're talking crap, somebody's going to find out in like 10 minutes
Yes.
how good you are.
yeah,
For sure.
All right, number 2. Worst car mod you've ever seen at a meet?
Oof. Stick-on hood scoop. That was non-functional on a BMW.
That is fantastic.
God, that hurt me. Honestly,
Did it actually have a hole underneath it, or just
no,
dropped it up
it was
up
just
there?
like
Wow.
taped on. I think it was like 3M taped on. It was the worst looking thing
he a
I've ever seen.
16-year-old?
It looked like something that should have been factory on a Subaru STI or something,
It'd be
but it was just kind of stuck onto a
really bad, huh?
BMW 335i, and I just really that hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
I want to get one of those hood scoops and put it on my Cayman. See how many people look at it and they're just like,
on the
that's-
on the,
right,
on the front.
hood, right?
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
hood. See
I
how many
think I've
people-
actually
see
seen
how
that
many
on a
people get the
Boxster
joke,
before.
right?
I've seen that on a
second.
Boxster. I've seen that on a Boxster in Miami before.
Awful.
Let's move on. Number 3. Worst thing about the BMW car meet culture today?
I think it's kind of going in the wrong direction with all the burnout competitions and drifting and all that stuff. Exhaust competitions.
I don't get that one.
I don't get that one either.
Again, we're probably just old.
Yeah, it's just things where, I just think it's going in the wrong direction. I think it's kind of turning more into the JDM type
Yeah.
community. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad that so many people are buying BMWs these days and that it's such a diverse crowd.
Diverse is a very polite way of saying
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah. But, there's just some of those things that I just don't feel like should be at a BMW meet or, something like that.
It used to be a little classier from what I remember.
It was.
Well, BMWs
was-
themselves, like from a design standpoint, used to
Yeah.
be beautiful and classy, and now, with my
Well,
apologies to the BMW crowd, they're hideous, and they have been for years.
The 2 Series that
Oh,
they came
God,
out.
just-
It's such an abomination.
Ever since they changed that grill, however many years ago, it's not.
You know,
great.
speaking of girls, the G80 grew on me. Like when it
It
first
grew
came
on
out,
me
I was
like
like, look at this
crazy, too.
stupid beaver-looking thing,
Yeah.
and now I'm like, I kind of like it.
Well, you know
Did
what?
see the-
As soon as you get rid of that louvered stock grill and you put in like one of the nice carbon fiber ones and open up that area, it starts looking a little meaner.
We
you
had a
know?
couple of G80 full-on M4s at the track this past weekend. Oh my god,
Yeah.
looks so mean. Because now the little beaver tooth, like it looks like this, like they're sucking air into their.
To me, they
turbos.
look like evil Mustangs. Evil
Yeah,
German
yeah.
Mustangs.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're running out of time. I'm going to skip number 4 because it's very much like number 3. Number 5, track driving, car or motorcycle, which is more fun?
More fun the motorcycle, faster the car.
Really?
Yep.
Because you're more likely to push in a car than in a motorcycle.
I think it's just contact patches, stuff like that. I mean, most tracks, I'm going to be faster around in the car than I am on the motorcycle.
Really? So, like,
Yeah.
if you're in a corner, you can carry a higher minimum
In
speed
most
in a car
cases,
than
unless
a
it's
bike.
a long sweeping turn, yeah.
I guess that makes
mean,
sense. You said the contact patch. Think about it.
Yeah.
You know how much rubber's
Yeah,
on
you
actually.
got this much on the
Yeah,
motorcycle.
but as somebody
around.
that doesn't ride motorcycles, I would have just assumed that the weight and the fact that you can lean over,
Right.
45 degrees would enable you to go around the corner. And just, interesting. I learned
That's
something.
what I figured too. All right, number 6. Tail of the Dragon, best run ever or overrated tourist trap?
Both. Depends on the day and the time you go.
Okay. What about you?
Yeah, again, I've been there numerous times, and I am a bigger fan of all the roads that are around it. We talked a little bit about that with Jen a few episodes ago.
I
The
love all
the
the
roads
surrounding
around it, they're less crowded, they're a little bit more open, they're a little bit less touristy trap. But yeah, a little bit of both.
I agree. If you hit Tail of the Dragon, though, early morning on a Thursday, it's one of the craziest roads you could ever drive. I think there's better roads around, honestly, because I would rather do some faster sweepers and stuff like that than quick switchbacks.
And Jen mentioned that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. Number 8, bigger ego problems, slammed BMW guys or stretched bike riders.
Stretch bike riders.
Okay, they have bigger ego problems. Got it. Number 9, what's more fragile, BMW cooling systems or BMW driver egos?
Definitely the egos.
I think you're right.
Yeah, definitely.
And number 10, street takeovers, thrilling rebellion or absolute clown show?
Man, that is such a circus. I can't stand that stuff.
Like, how did that even become popular?
I don't know,
Why would
but
you think that would be a good idea? I don't understand that.
Make it
at
stop.
all.
You know what? I'm glad that YouTube is they're killing all those videos. They're not allowing them to. Yeah, because
They
it's
should
just
kill those. And what is it? The swimming or whatever, where the guys are cutting through traffic or whatever. You know, man,
Well, that seems like a terrible. I've never
it's
seen one
the
of those.
most dangerous stuff. And I mean, like these street takeovers. How many people need to get hit by a car, you know, or whatever to get these things shut down? You know, it's
unbelievable.
wild.
All right, listen. We're going to go to our next segment, which is our guest challenge. This is where you get to challenge 2 of your friends to come on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to look straight into your camera and let them know you're being challenged to come on the podcast.
All right. Zoltan Wallace, I challenge you. And Bill Mondi, I challenge you.
All right. There you go. The challenge has been laid down by Brian. If you're interested in coming to the podcast, go to offtheracinglineline.com, fill out the form, and let us know when you want to come in. Guys, it's been a pleasure chatting again back in the studio. This is nice.
Air conditioning. It's not
Yes.
raining. Like there's no water drops messing up your notes, so you don't know what to say. Yeah, I'm sure you're more comfortable here.
Absolutely. Ben, thank you for having us again here at Junkies, Podcast Junkie Studios. Brian, thank you for coming in. Really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me, guys.
And remember, everything interesting happens
Off
off the racing line. See you guys next time.